Hello, welcome to today's episode of Weapons of War podcast. I am your host, Enshrined. Today we are going to delve or discuss about politics, especially how we should approach our general elections next year. These are just my views. You can also share yours after in the comment section. You're most welcome to this episode. I'll start with all remind us of this quotation by Martin Luther from his famous I Have a Dream speech, where he said that he had a dream that one day his children would live in a country where they are judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skins. That he wanted his children, he hoped, he had this dream that his children would live in a country where the content of their character overrode the color of their skins. That's the content of their character overriding their identity as black people. Yet, by and large, I see more, or the world in general is gravitating more towards identity kind of politics. I'm from the politics where we should judge people, or we should judge leaders, especially now that we're talking about Uganda's general elections to come next year, 2026, that we should judge leaders by the content of their character, not after any identity, if I should say. Because actually, primarily, when you look at even the friends that we keep, we don't keep friends. Yes, we could be part of groups, say, Obi's group, or this group, whatever grouping it is, but the real friends that we have, we don't keep them because of those groupings, because of those identities. We keep them because of certain characters that they have. That's why most of the times our friends are wide-ranging. You have a friend, a best friend, you are in the central, you are born, bred in the central, you have a friend from the north. Because of a certain character trait they have, or a friend from the west, because of a certain character trait they have. Not necessarily that, because I'm born from the central, therefore my best friend has to be in the central. We don't go about things like that. Even at times, the people from whom we buy things from, or even our business partners, may be people that we don't exactly share a certain identity with. We may not be coming from the same tribe. Why? What's that thing that brought you together? It's because of a certain character trait you saw in them, that based on that, and then their shared values and the purpose. So we should approach our election in such a manner that do these leaders that we are going to choose from have the values and the character traits that you personally consider to be big. Because someone is this, therefore, if someone is my OB, therefore all of us OBs, let us vote our OB. I think that would be a very bad or careless way of approaching the general election. The general election should be approached as an individual decision, as a person who's going to make a business decision. How do I expect this person to keep their word? Are they people of character? What are their values? Consider it as actually a business decision. Do you enter into business partnerships with anyone? No. Okay, quote unquote, if you're out there, just because they are black, or just because if I'm white, they are white, therefore they should be my business partners? No, we don't make decisions based on such identities. We make such decisions based on character traits that we see. That this person is trustworthy, this person keeps their word, they say what they mean, and they mean what they say. This person has a background to this, and that's why we choose certain of those, partnerships that we make in life. And I think that should be the same process through which we should choose, you should use to choose our next president or MP or whatever the political office you shall be voting for in 2026. This perhaps to just put a disclaimer that I don't at all disregard someone being a member of one of these group or this group or whatever group it is. We can be members, but we also know that being members within a certain, grouping does not mean that we have the same characters. Even within families, people raised under the same roof, people can come out with different characters. Brothers or sisters who don't see eye to eye, who are brothers united by blood, but when it comes to doing business, they say, no, that one, I don't do business with them, because there's a character flaw there, right? So for me, yes, while you can be part of all these umbrella groupings, which is okay, we can associate for various reasons, but when it comes to choosing a leader of a country, I think that's an individual decision everyone needs to make based on their individual values. So for example, if my primary thing, as a religious person, deeply religious, my first thing would be, does this person here have the character to care about religious freedoms? Freedom of worship, does he have it? If, say, my particular belief is in the sanctity of marriage, the purity of marriage and family, now I have to ask myself, is this person of a certain character and belief system to uphold these values that I consider dear? Because I consider these values to be so big to me, and to also cascade them to my child and ensure that also my child or my children grow up in a world that treasures freedom of worship, the sanctity of family. Now, I have to ensure that the leaders I'm choosing today are leaders that have those values. Those values are personal and they may differ from person to person. So I'm not going to make it a groupie thing that we as OBs of what, or we as OGs of this, we are going to vote for this one. What if they do not value the things I value? Yes, they are my OBs. Yes, they are my OGs. What if they don't value the things I value? I may not vote them for that. What if they are my tribe mates, but they don't value the things I value? Do I just go, identify as this? What if they come from my religion, but they don't value the things I value? The things I consider to be topmost. If, say, I'm a person who values life, that for me, life, it has to be God to stop life, unless someone is a criminal murderer, then the court of law can handle that. And then there are people who say, no, someone can take a life when they want. Would you vote for such a leader? You understand? Yes, that leader may be as black as you are. Yes, that leader may be from your tribe or from your region, if it's central or west or north, whatever it is. Yes, they may be, but do they have the values? Do they carry the values that you value, if I may say, you esteem? If they don't, then why do you vote for such people in leadership? Because they are going to come and trample upon the very things that you value. But yet you made a decision based on a certain identity. We, the central people, we, the northern people, we, the southwestern people, we, the what people. No, decisions shouldn't be made like that. Decisions in life, we make them based on certain values, based on certain characters. Again, we have people who are patriots first before they are global citizens, who care about their country first before they care about the rest of the world, who care about their families first before they care about the... What if then your tribesmen who's vying for this office, for them they care about the world first before they care about their countrymen? Then you have to consider, are these people believers in charity begins at home, they prefer charity begins at the neighbors? If therefore charity begins at the neighbors and that's not your value, then why are you voting them? Because they are going to get into those leadership positions and then they are going to carry out these policies that are against your very values that you want to maintain and keep in the society so that your children can also benefit from them. So we need to choose or think through that decision-making process when we think about our next leaders that we are going to vote into various offices in 2026. I also want to consider, what if you say a Gen Z, who is the leader that best answers the things that you at the core of your heart today? What are the things at the core of your heart? What are the things that you value most today as a Gen Z? You have to think through these things individually first. As me, what do I consider to be this thing for me? This is a must. A leader has to come and answer this. It's not a groupie thing. That, no, for us we have decided, what? Even if it's a family, this an individual decision that you're making, you understand? It's like a decision you're making to get a business partner. What are those things that you consider in a business partner? What are they? Or even, okay, I won't take it into a marriage partner, but okay, let's consider this as a business. What are those things that you consider? So for me, those are things that I think we need to consider when you're walking into elections. And more than the politics of identity, you come from here, you look at your own values first. Your own values, what are your values? And in the right hierarchy, that I value this first and foremost, I value this second, I value this three. If there is a leader out there who values 4 of the things, of the 5 things I value, that's my leader. Because I know he'll maintain the sanctity of these things that I value and carry them forward. to the next, for me and also to the next generation, so that I'm not just voting things because we come from the southeast. Therefore, we have chosen this one. No. This is not a groupie thing. But that person from the southeast or wherever they're coming from may not exactly carry the same values that you carry. Even in families, at times people don't have the same values. Someone believes this, another believes that. Okay. So how about then on a national level? Again, let me look at some of the leaders that have been really extolled globally and look at the values they espoused, and then you let us know if actually you would have voted for them. But yet, generally speaking, people speak well about them. I'll start with Joe Biden. According to the elections, 2020 is the most famous US president. At least 81 million people voted for him. Really, you understand? So 81 million people voted for him. But this is what happened. December 14, 2020. He signed the Respect for Marriage Act. He said this 10 years ago, the Supreme Court affirmed a simple proposition: every American should have the right to marry the person they love. As president, I'm as proud to sign the Respect for Marriage Act to protect that freedom in federal law. Love is love, right is right, justice is justice.
Today's a good day. A day America takes a vital step toward equality, toward liberty and justice, not just for some, but for everyone. Everyone. Marriage, I mean this with all my heart, marriage is a simple proposition. Who do you love? And will you be loyal to that person you love? It's not more complicated than that. The law recognizes that everyone should have the right to answer those questions for themselves without the government interference.
And he went on to beam these rainbow colors onto the White House. Now, if your belief system or if the things that you value were different and you valued, say, for me, I believe in the sanctity of marriage. Marriage is man and woman. Why would you vote such a person whose values are different from yours? Because I'm a Democrat? Because this is my party? But your party is destroying not just your life, but also your children's lives. So for me, it does not matter your affiliations are. The thing is, this is an individual decision that me, when I consider what this man stands for, I know he can't be my leader. Because I value this A, B, C, D, me personally. Then there is this interview. These are global leaders that I'm using to paint a picture for us locally. Because again, if I use local leaders, people may catch feelings. But let us look at Michelle Obama. She just had, I think she runs a podcast these days with one of the Wayans brothers. And this is what she said: I'm so proud that you are dealing with a child that is transgender. That warms my heart, particularly as a black man. As a black man, she was referring to the one brother who is raising a transgender child. Now, and these are the esteemed leaders, global leaders. Now, if she was to stand for office, and I see that she values these things of sex changes, of changing a girl into a boy into a girl, why would I vote for such a person in a public office if I believe that girls are girls from inception, boys are boys from inception? Before even giving birth, if those are my value systems and I believe that, now why would I vote for such a person? Because she's a woman? Because she's black? But we find that so often we follow these people, extol them as global leaders, yet the values they carry are not the values we believe in. Then what is this that is getting us to follow them and even praise them as leaders? You know, we could love them as human beings, but in the capacity of leadership, we have to strictly be careful on who we follow, who we extol, and who we think they are big. You have to watch that video of Michelle Obama saying that, so that you may not think that I'm taking her words out of context.
I wanted to talk, Marlon, a bit about, just so proud of how you are being a role model for dealing with a child that's transgender.
Absolutely.
And that's, that warms my heart, particularly as a Black man.
Let's also have a look at her husband, Obama. Again, I think he was also appearing on that podcast. This is what he had to say. Every man should have a girlfriend just in case you are raising a child who's gay, that they may need someone to talk to.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times boys need is not just exposure to one guy.
Mm-hmm. One dad.
No matter how good the dad
is. He can't be everything.
He can't be everything. And that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
Now, these are people that famous world leaders, the first Black man to be US president, one of the most famous US presidents, and these are his values. Now if are those your values, if they're your values, okay, then he's your leader. You can go for him, or if at all you don't consider that to be so big an issue, you're like, for me that's small. For me, my issue is I should be able to go to a club whenever I want. If that's your value, it's okay. Then, if at all that's not a value to you, that's okay, then you can be a leader. But I'm speaking to people whose values may be in contrast to the people they praise and they extol. You get? If your values are different from mine, then why should you vote me as your leader? All in complete contrast. Because when I become a leader, whatever policies I'm bringing forth, they are born out of the things that I believe. You may say that there are, checks and balances, parliaments, the judiciary is here and there, but we have seen those systems, people overriding them over and over. For me, I believe that as we approach 2026, sit as a person, evaluate what are the top 5 values that you want to see, or that you esteem you as a person, that any leader that you're going to vote in power should have, or at least, if not all of them, at least more than half, perhaps 70% or 80%. I'll stick with Obama. 2016, this is what he said. And this was about the issue of transgender kids, again, kids who have transitions, changed sexes in school. Said every child has the right to use the bathroom of their gender they identify with. This is Obama, that if a boy says they're a girl, then when they get to school, then they can go to girls' washrooms. So boys mixing with girls in the washrooms, or girls feeling their boys, they go in boys' washrooms. What's that? And we see that also filtered into sports where men that had become women who are now participating in women's sports. Now, as a person, are those the values? Do you have the same value system with Obama to say, oh yeah, Obama is good, is what, is that? You get what I'm saying? Now, if you don't have the same value system with him, why would you consider him a great leader? No, then he's not. To me, yes, to others to whom those things don't weigh that much, he could be. But for me, it could be perhaps, if he's good at sports, I would say he's a good sportsman. But as a leader, I would say perhaps no. Again, the major emphasis is for us to evaluate what are those things that we value most in life. What are those things that you're like, these are my must. I believe this, I believe this, I believe this. Therefore, aren't leaders that believe this, that believe this, that believe this. With that statement that he made, there's this article I picked off CNN. The CNN said, Fed issues guidance on, that's the federal government. They said issues guidance on transgender access to school bathroom. This was on Saturday, May 14, 2016. This was during Obama's tenure as president. The Obama administration issued guidance Friday directing public schools to allow transgender children to use bathrooms matching their gender identity, not their gender at birth. A joint letter from the Department of Education and Justice went to schools Friday with guidelines to ensure that transgender students enjoy a supportive and non-discriminatory school environment, the Obama administration said. The announcement comes amid a heated national debate over transgender rights in schools and public life. Anyway, then this quotation is one I want. It says, "There's no room in our school for discrimination of any kid, including discrimination against transgender students on the basis of their sex," said the Attorney General. Then went on to say this guidance gives administrators, teachers, and parents the tools they need to protect transgender students from peer harassment and to identify and address unjust school policies. To identify and address unjust school policies. So a school that did not adhere to this, they are to be identified and the issue has to be addressed. Addressed how? Now there's a video that I found online. Again, I'll play it for you here now, that you listen to it in regard to this.
On May the 6th of 2016, President Obama sent a letter to every school district in the United States. And President Obama said, every child has a right to use the bathroom of the gender that they identify with. And President Obama threatened the state departments of education. If you don't let transgender children use the bathroom of the gender they identify with, we will cut your funding. We will cut your money. We will cut your grants. And so Barack Obama, more than any other politician in the world, fed the transgender movement.
Yeah, good. So you hear that the schools that never adhered to this were heavily punished. No funding for them from the federal government. Now this is a person that everyone, even up to now, people, the first black president, the first black president, they love him, first black president. That are those the values, the things he's pushing. His values, do we have shared values with him for me to consider him and give him the weight that all other people are giving him? Or we give him all these props and this weight because other people are doing the same? Or the first black man, so all of us, he's the first black man, so all of us are supposed to love him? No, we should follow people, vote people based on values. Because that's how we make our other decisions in life. Well, they are based on values. We take kids to schools because of certain values that we see in that school. We just don't take them to the school because it's owned by a tribesman. We don't take them to schools because the schools are owned by a person of the same race. No, you take someone to school because it has the same values that you hold, and you want these values to be passed on to your children. Therefore, when I go to choosing my leader 2026, I want a leader who shares my values. Personal. Not a groupie thing. Personal. My values. I'm selfish in this. He may not tick all the boxes, but I want someone to tick boxes to a certain degree. We need to contrast those two leaders, those two people we talked about with Michelle Obama and the Bidens, and some of the values that they have and they push forward. Contrast that with what Trump is doing. And here are his views about transgender policies that were pushed by the former administration's replace.
My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for sex discrimination and the elimination of federal funding. As part of our new credentialing body for teachers, we will promote positive education about the nuclear family, the roles of mothers and fathers, and celebrating rather than erasing the things that make men and women different and unique. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. The bill will also make clear that Title IX prohibits men from participating in women's sports, and we will protect the rights of parents from being forced to allow their minor child to assume a gender which is new and an identity without the parents' consent. The identity will not be new, and it will not be without parental consent. No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. It was all when the radical left invented it just a few years ago. Under my leadership, this madness will end. Thank you very much.
So with that, you have to ask yourself, between Trump and the other administrations, who has the shared values that you have? And who would you vote for to be your leader? For me, it's as simple as that. It's not whether I'm Democrat or Republican or whatever party it is. It's not whether I'm white or black. I'm looking for a person with the shared values with me. That's it. Because I know that when he has these shared values, then the things that I value will be pushed forward. I will live in a better environment. My kids will profit from that. Other than if I believe this and then I vote a leader who believes this, then what am I doing? Because we are from the same region, Northeast, therefore we voted this one. But I believe this, I believe this, I believe this, and they believe this, and they believe this. So what am I doing to myself? Is that a vote well cast? I'll leave that to you. Then I'll perhaps bring this point closer to home. We have our own Zoran Mamdani, who is the Democrat candidate vying to become the mayor of New York City. Zoran is a self-confessed socialist. Socialists say that there shouldn't be any billionaires in the world because there are people suffering. He believes that those who have, whatever they have, should be taken off them and given to those that don't have. No matter how you made your money, no matter how you acquired what you have, the thing is, if there's someone who doesn't have, just get it, give it to that person. If you have 6 cows, your neighbor has 0, whether they are lazy or what, or you worked hard and acquired your 6 cows, get 3 of you, give them to your neighbor. He believes in that kind of system. But that system has failed everywhere it has been applied. One, because it kills hard work and encourages laziness. Those who receive will continue sitting, hoping to receive, and those who have been stepping forward to make a living, to think and be entrepreneurial, their morale and motivation will be killed, and guess what? You will have poverty spread out now. You won't have wealth spread out, you will have poverty spread out. On the next matter, I don't want me to bias you, but listen to this clip on what he had to say.
LGBTQIA plus New Yorkers are under attack in 2 key ways. The first is from an affordability crisis on the inside, and the second is from Donald Trump's administration from the outside. And in this moment, we need a mayor that will stand up to meet both of those crises. And ultimately, what we are facing is the frontrunner of this race being Andrew Cuomo, someone who thinks we lost the general election, in his words, because we talked too much about bathrooms and sports teams. And ultimately, what that reflects is a willingness within our own party to betray trans and queer New Yorkers and Americans, to deflect from the responsibility our party has to face up that we actually betrayed working class people so long ago, and we're finally paying the bill. So what I offer in this campaign is a clarity of purpose, the courage and the conviction that is needed in order to make the most expensive city in the United States affordable, and to ensure that we protect each and every New Yorker as we stand up to Washington, D.C.
That's Zoran Mamdani, the Ugandan. There's so many people. What, a Ugandan? A Ugandan what, running to become the mayor of New York? Now, do I consider someone because they're Ugandans? No, I have to listen to his values. You've heard the man himself. What, queer, what, LGBT, he wants to, what, transgender people? What? That's his message. And socialism, that's it. But Ugandans, he's a Ugandan. No. So what if you're Ugandan? Look, I will celebrate you. If he's in music, I will celebrate in the music element. If he's into acting, I will celebrate that if he's into. But as a leader, no. As a leader, no. Because we don't have shared beliefs, we don't. But then, this sort of one of our own leaders here said about Mamdani, and this was blind. He said this is his post. He said, like many Ugandans, I'm captivated and greatly inspired by the story of my friend Zoran K. Mamdani. The story, okay? Born and raised in Uganda, okay? He's defied all odds in US, where he has risen from just another immigrant to being top contender for the mayorship of none other than the New York City. That is courageously anchoring his campaign on values, distinguishes himself as a global patriot. On values, which values? Babania is speaking about how he's courageously anchoring his campaign on values. Which values? Socialist values? LGBTQ queer values, transgender values? Those are the values that you're talking about. But because he's Ugandan, he's Ugandan. But which Ugandan? I'm not supporting him simply because he's Ugandan. I'm supporting somebody who has shared values. Now, unless those are your values, it's okay, then he's your leader, you can support them. But what are those kind of values that I'm celebrating? Anyway, let's continue the tweet here. He is courageously anchoring his campaign on values. This distinguishes him as a global patriot who truly seeks to create a better world where everyone is equal. A better world where everyone is equal. A better world where everyone is equal. Equal to what? We are not even equal in our families. That's socialism that wants to create everyone equal. Those who have give, these ones who don't have, so that we are all equal. But even in our families, not everyone is equal. And like one person said, even one person, the same person is not equal to himself the previous day or even the following day. At certain days you are better, at other days you are off. You've seen this in sports. One guy today is blazing the trail, the next game he's off the radar. Even the same person is not the same every day, and yeah, that is making a world where everyone is equal. Equal where? Those are socialist ideas. Those are transgender things, equal. No. If those are your values, it's okay. You can push for that. But for me, whether it's Ugandan or not, we don't have shared values. So I cannot push for such a leader. You get? And that he shared for a better world where everyone is equal, matters, and lives a life of dignity. In Zoran, I see a generation rising to shape a better future. In Zoran, a generation rising. In Zoran, a generation that espouses these beliefs. Anyway, if those are their beliefs, then it's okay. But I want to show you that we shouldn't just support people because they're Ugandans. At times they have beliefs that we don't believe in. If we say about a world where everyone is equal, what if you have your 2 cars and they got out your 1 car and they gave it to a neighbor who doesn't have? Only if it's a border and you have 4 and they took 2 and they gave them to someone else. So that we are all equal. Is that the kind of equality you're seeking? If you're a student, what if they got certain of your marks? What, you got 100, but your other friend got 20. So get a bit of that 40, they get 60, you also balance yourself on 60, so each gets 60. Is that equality? That's socialism. That's the belief system of Mamudani, and he says it publicly. And someone says that's going to raise a better future. Which better future? Socialism has failed everywhere it has been. We've seen what the transgender movement has done, going to schools, taking to nursery schools, teaching children sexual things, sex education to schools, cutting off kids' breasts, apparently turning them into boys cut off their privates, turn them into girls. What's that better world that we're talking about? Anyway, I thank him for standing with our cause of freedom back in Uganda. I hope Zan is standing for our cause back in Uganda not to bring those values. I wish him the very best of luck in his bid for mayorship. Chukube Mwana Wafe. Now, are we supporting him because he's Mwana Wafe? Or we have not really evaluated or sat down to analyze his values as a person? Even as a Ugandan, if I lived in New York, I wouldn't vote for him. You get? Because of the values. Recently, also, former Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, posted a picture of herself with Zoran at the airport. They are in the VIP lounge. Zoran was going back after his wedding. This is what Kadaga said: delighted to meet with Zoran Mamdani, incoming mayor of New York City. Good luck in the next phase of the elections. Good luck. Good luck. So that he may unleash his values on New York City. It's not my home, but for the values that I uphold, I wouldn't wish him to be a leader of anywhere. Maybe his family, and that's it. But you see here Ugandans, and I don't know whether they dug into the values of Zoran, but you see here Ugandans, I think, being swept up by a Ugandan, therefore a Ugandan is shining, waving our flag how? Considering the values that I uphold, I wouldn't say he's waving my flag, I would be ashamed. Me personally, not as you. You get? Again, I want to end like this, that as we approach 2026 next year, make the election about you, about your values. What do you value? As a business person, What are your expectations from a leader? As a business person, what are the values that you have? As a religious leader, what values do you have and what do you expect from that leader? As a parent or a guardian, choose a leader who carries values that will create a good atmosphere and environment for your children to grow. As a Gen Z, the same. What are your desires? Is it employment? Anyway, what are your values first and foremost? As a Gen Z, what is it? Do these leaders, A, B, C, D, up to Z, have the shared values that you have? Or we are voting for this one. As the youth, we are voting. What if the youthful person does not have the same values that we hold? Mom Dan may be youthful, Zohan may be youthful, but he doesn't carry my same values. I wouldn't vote for him. If he stood for any office back here in Uganda, I wouldn't. Or even if as a Ugandan in New York, I wouldn't. His works in Queen of Country, perhaps good. As a leader, no. Okay. So, who of the candidates has the value system to deliver your expectations? Because whatever we value, we always float to the top whenever in our decision making. When we are making our decisions, we make our decisions based on our values. Okay. So what are those values that you have as a person? Those should be the guiding compass as you get into the elections next year. Be selfish as you can. Don't think group is not a merry-go-round as a group. What are your shared values as you? And from that selfishness, you realize that we shall be able to get good leaders if everyone sat down and thought through their personal values, that these are things I value. Our values may differ in hierarchy, but you might find that they are common if we list our top 5. Therefore, if we all went and chose the leader that shares my value, you vote down who shares your value, even the other who shares their value, you'll find that we shall end up with the best candidate. That will take our country to the next level. That's it for today. Again, I encourage you to continue the conversation in the comment section below. And please like the video if there's something you've picked from it, and share widely with your friends and family. And let's catch up in the next episode. This is Weapons of War podcast, and I'm your host, Eden Chironde.